Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Apocalypse Movies and the Fandalorian Club. I'm not alone. I'm finally not alone. It's been a solo journey over the last 2 weeks, as you will see tomorrow morning with the Bad Batch review. But I finally have a crew member here to talk about the Mandalorian season 3. Super excited. We are on chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore, episode 2 of season 3. My name is Jake Berlin, and I'm the host here on the Fando. I'm joined by my fellow cohort here, Mr. Brian Avalosino. Brian, how you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. Surviving parent-teacher conference week, one step closer to not having to do it for the rest of the year, which is always a nice thing. And I get to enjoy a little midweek treat with some Star Wars. And some good Star Wars, too.
What a treat it was. What a treat it was. 2 incredible episodes regarding Derpy. I don't know what your comment means. It was a joke, fellas. I apologize. I'm sorry. I don't know what your comment means.
I missed it. Sorry.
Look, we're here. Let's dive right into it. Before we get to the actual episode, because Brian wasn't here last week, I just want your kind of general, quick reaction thoughts on episode 1, chapter 17 of season 3 so far.
I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I mean, I Mando for me just kind of just stays like consistently good. Like there's very a low dip in the consistency. I quite enjoyed it, especially that we have finally set foot on a planet that we have heard about for ever. Like at least it feels like it.
Well, you mean in Mandalorian aspect?
Yes. And especially live action, I meant. So yeah, I mean, I just love seeing this show. The show's just like, if you're just there to enjoy Star Wars, like this is great. Like I love it. I there's no complaints coming from me.
Good to hear. Very good to hear. I mean, everyone can see my thoughts last week on the episode. We're not going to dive into chapter 17. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about episode 2. The Mines of Mandalore. Look, we in the previous 2 seasons of this show, you know, as the last episode ended with, Din basically saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to the Mines of Mandalore. I'm going to go get a droid that can help me, etc." We would have taken like an episode 2, 3 off until we actually got there. Like we would have gotten a side quest, we would have gotten a little adventure, something that kind of took away from the real storyline. That's where season 3 differs. We're in the heart of it all. We're getting into it right away. We are.
I was shocked he got to the waters this quick. Like we're just like, well, I mean, I'm used to like the kind of like before, like there was a little bit of a slower pace. So for it to be like, boom, right into it, it's like, oh, okay, all right.
I mean, I guess I'm not gonna say like I knew it was coming, but I wasn't as surprised as everybody else was, because I got the vibe from episode 1 that they ain't playing around this time. Like, and we've talked about it leading up to this, but season 3 is kind of what feels like this show was always meant to be and get to. And so I felt like they weren't going to take any more time getting there. Like we've talked about it, we've heard about it. It's been like just sitting on the ledge for 2 seasons. Now we're there. Let's not play around. Let's get right to it. But I will say what Andy said in the chat, the cold open and going to Tatooine, which could have easily been a side quest, just a cold open. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant the way that they did that. It was so smart to, and the IG-11 stuff can come back around at some point, but for the time being, the IG-11 stuff is kind of put at rest, and we have R5. He's got his droid. We don't need to go back to Tatooine anymore. We have that little moment in the season, but now we're getting again to the heart of it all. Mandalore, Bo-Katan, just the whole thing. And I thought it was a very smart move to do that.
Yeah. Where in the past we would have had a whole episode of him just trying to get to Tatooine, and then maybe like the other half of it is just walking around. I don't know, something else. Yeah, this is like, yeah, I need a droid. Don't have to part. Cool, let's go. Like, I was like, all right. Like, I mean, you get like some little fun name drops thrown in there to just kind of trigger your nerdy Star Wars fans that actually know things. I don't know if you're gonna bring it up, so I don't want to.
What, Boba Fett?
No, the Boonta Eve.
Oh yeah, Boonta Eve. I mean, they didn't say Boonta Eve Classic, which I was bummed about, but
Well, it was
it's just a holiday. Yeah, Boonta Eve is a holiday, and they're celebrating, and they were doing some Tatooine drifting around Tatooine, which I thought was incredible. I loved it.
I watched it later. Sorry to cut you off, just because this is exactly what I wanted to say. I watched it later, so you had already watched it and put in the chat something along the lines of that made me like I was looking for something, and then when I saw that, I went, no way. Is there's going to be pod racers? And then I was like, oh no, it's just a little drifting.
I wish. I mean, I was definitely kind of like on the cusp of like, oh, maybe we'll have a moment. Like if they stayed on Tatooine, 100% there would have been a pod race.
Mhm.
But and knowing that the Boonta Eve Classic takes place on a holiday and it was taking place at some point during that day, I'm okay with not showing it. I love the little nod with the racing. The speeder racing, which I thought was really smart to do, just kind of throw it in there. It makes sense, drifting around the garage and everything. But yeah, I love the little moment on Tatooine. And we've talked about it over the last couple of seasons of like, for the longest time, Tatooine was always designated and kind of talked about as this planet that nothing happens on, like just a desert. It's quiet. It's kind of a wasteland. You go there as kind of like scum and villainy. The shows have definitely differed from that, obviously, right? Boba Fett took place on Tatooine. Mando's gone there multiple times. And so I'm happy that
Obi-Wan Kenobi went there.
Obi-Wan was there. Well, Obi-Wan was there, but yes, you're right.
I mean, yeah.
And I just love that, if that's the only time we see it, it's perfect because we get a little nod. We go back there once, and it makes sense because Mando's kind of like developed and brought together this little tiny crew that he can go around and ask, favors for or whatever it may be. Boba Fett being one of them. And he has this spunky mechanic who would help him in any aspect of life, especially when it comes to Grogu. Even though she may be a little bit of a sleazeball at moments, she's still willing to help. And so, yeah, I mean, like if he needs to go Tatooine for a pit stop, totally cool. Do we need to spend an episode? Absolutely not. So I thought it was a very smart move in doing that. And again, we get right to the point of everything, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. And love seeing, because we don't get it enough, the sentient other alien species. Like when I saw the Rhodian, I was like, yes. Like even, it doesn't even have a point. Like it's not going to affect anything, but just being able to see them, that is my like thing that I want so badly more of Star Wars to do is put, and I know it's expensive and all that, but like I love that is one of my favorite things is seeing the actual other beings in live action. Like when when I saw an Ithorian live action for Book of Boba Fett, I was gonna fall out of my chair. So it's like, hey, don't forget that there's other than humans there. So, I mean, I know that had nothing to do with the episode entirely, but it just in general, like it was something that I was like, yes. Like,
well, no, it plays to, I think what a lot of people had, I'm not going to call it like backlash or negative opinions, but just kind of like thoughts about Andor being basically a full human story. Right? Yeah. There were no aliens in Andor. So I think that Mandalorian, you have an opportunity to absolutely do that in any aspect, and he travels to so many different worlds and meets so many different people. You can throw a random, like for example, in episode 1, the pirates. Great opportunity, right?
They
To
look
just throw
so freaking cool.
yeah, just to throw in some wacky, obviously canon stuff as far as the pirates, but their leading pirate, and Andy knows the name. I forgot the name last week. I apologize, Andy.
Oh
But
no.
it's Andy's Twitter handle, and I always forget it. But he's like a seaweed monster, which I love. Like, just throw a random alien together, and guess what?
Does it
It's
start
Star
with a
Wars.
V?
It makes sense. I'm not sure. No, that was the pirate, the main pirate that we met, Van.
Oh,
yeah.
Who am I? Wait, who are you talking about then?
The seaweed, the king.
Oh, the seaweed guy. I completely forgot about
the
the
king something.
King Gorian Shard.
There you go, King Gorian Shard. Thank you,
Andy.
Yeah, no, yeah. I forgot his name all last week. Andy had to keep correcting me. So,
oh no,
yeah. But anyway, look, I also agree with you. I love that we're getting more aliens front and center. I think it's a lot of fun, and I definitely think that we're gonna get more of it. Obviously, when it comes to like Mandalorian stuff, not as much, just because they are human.
Yeah.
But other stuff outside of it, the monsters on Mandalore, right? There's a creature. There's all those comments. Those comments weren't coming in for me for some reason. They just all popped up at once.
Oh, really? Oh.
There was like 7 that just like showed up at once. But yeah, Brian, let's dive into it. So look, outside of the Tatooine stuff, we get to Mandalore, and this planet obviously has been destroyed. It lives up to what we have learned in the past as it looking like glass at the moment, and it being bombed by the Imperial or Empire, and those bombs turning this planet into complete destruction. But like glass-like structures and rocks and like all of these things, as much as it was, destroyed, it was pretty damn gorgeous to look at. Like, it was designed beautifully. And I know that it was all rubble and just broken buildings and stuff, but it was a gorgeous looking design, because we have to keep in mind, especially for people who may not be as hooked into Star Wars as we are, this is the first time we're ever seeing Mandalore in live action. And it sucks to not see it in its heyday, but we're still seeing it. We are still seeing it. And it's still very, very cool to now say we've seen Mandalore in live action.
Do you think we will ever, or not ever, this season see Mandalore before explosions in a flashback?
I'm starting to lean yes, because we did get that shot in the trailer. Which I don't know if you remember or saw. We talked about it on POV as well. There's a shot of what looks like Mandalore with a dome and green.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
We've talked about it, but Mandalore was once green, and that they lived in the dome-like structures. And so because of that, I will say yes, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we don't.
I thought Bo-Katan was going to have a moment where it was going to happen today.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I have a feeling within the next episode, I do now that like after watching this episode, I do think that Bo and Din are going to be together a lot. And there's going to be a moment within at least the next 2 episodes where Bo-Katan talks about the true history of Mandalore to Din, and we get a flashback of like maybe her father or something way beforehand. Hopefully our boy that we've been waiting to see for so long.
But yeah,
give me the Vizsla.
It's just I love just seeing it. It's like not history coming to life. It's like,
so what I think is going to happen, Brian, I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't mean to cut you off, and I'm sorry. I think Din's going to go back to the armorer. The armorer is going to reject him. I think the armorer was going to because I think she basically was lying to him, but like, even though you bathe in the waters, I'm still not accepting you. Like, because we have to get Din back on this path of like him fighting against her. How is that going to happen?
Her basically not being in the cult.
He's done everything that she has asked, right? If she rejects him, that puts him on a path with Bo. We have to get to a point where he's alongside Bo. Right now, he's still not with Bo, technically. He wants to go back to her for some like I did. I don't understand the dude. He wants to go back to cultist ways, and it drives me nuts that every time something happens, right? He gets brought down to the bottom of water by a gigantic mythosaur mystical monster, and he still wants to go back to the armorer. And I think something is going to happen to the point where like maybe she was just saying that to see what would happen, and maybe she knew the mythosaur was down there and like it would kill him or something. I don't know, but
I think if anything, if we're going to what you're talking about, it was almost a test to see if it's livable for them to go back.
maybe, but also so yes, I definitely agree with that, possibly. Because he does say, Bo-Katan was right. It's not cursed, and she's and the armorer has always said, Mandalore's cursed. Mandalore's cursed. But I think that I don't know if this is like the right wording or if this is how it happens exactly. But I definitely think that she's going to reject him still. He'll never return that, and hopefully in the next episode, it's the final straw, and he joins forces with Bo, and then we have a clear path of like where everyone aligns and what is happening.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the armorer's like, all right, give me the Darksaber. And he's just like, what?
No. Yeah, but she's already held it in her hands before.
That's true. That is true. I forgot about that.
Like she could have easily taken it in Boba Fett when he fought Paz Vizsla. Right? It was the two of them against him, and they could have easily taken him down.
Or maybe she wants him to destroy it, and he goes,
I would not be surprised, and I'd be okay with it by the end of the series. The Darksaber is destroyed. I honestly, because look, we've talked about it, but you want to know why? Because the ways of the Darksaber and the ruler of Mandalore holding the Darksaber have not worked. They have not worked. They need a new way. They need a new way of surviving as one. Take the Darksaber out of the equation. I know it would suck. It's a cool weapon.
It's a black lightsaber, though.
Awesome. I get it. But it causes issues.
No, you're not. I mean, I'm going to take that opportunity and segue. I mean, she did talk about how the fact that there was always someone fighting someone, which made them weak to the fact that the Empire was just like, oh,
what I'm saying, man. Or the other equation obviously is like, they don't destroy it, but Bo-Katan, who I took in this episode, by the way, and we'll get to her. I took in this episode very much as her starting to finally come around on what we've been waiting from her of like, put that whole quest, I sucked, we lost stuff aside, and join our boy in this fight.
Stop sulking.
I very much think that there's a possibility that they come to this like result of, well, not one person has to hold the Darksaber. Like, sure, maybe the ruler holds the Darksaber and he puts it on his belt, but maybe my first in command can take it into battle. Or
I thought whatever. She was going to get to keep it after today. I know it's like combat, but it's like you lost it technically.
Yeah, but she didn't beat him in combat, and she's still kind of holding on to that.
I know she goes by that, but like I was just literally like thinking to myself, I was like, if it was just lost and like for time and found, like,
I mean, I can't curse anymore. How freaking cool was it to see her wield that saber again?
I mean,
it was so dope.
She worked that thing like she's been using it.
She knows how to use it. She knows how to use it. And I will say, even though it's still heavy to din, I know we're all scattered all over the place, but guys, this is what we do.
It's expected when you get.
There's so many cool things in the episode.
That and one of his favorite characters.
Yes. Crazy. I love, so if you go back and watch like Boba Fett, for example, which I watched the Mandalorian episode on Boba Fett before season 3 started. When he lights that saber when he's training with the armorer, it's like extremely heavy. Like he can barely hold it up. It's slight difference here. It's liftable for him a little bit better than it was then, which means like he's starting to get there. He's not fully there. I think once he fully denounces the armorer, the Children of the Watch, etc., like he'll get there. But Bo understands it. She knows what it takes, right? She has a clear mind of kind of like where her path lies a little bit, and she's wielded it before. And just that moment of seeing her put that thing on was dope. It was so cool. It was so cool.
There's something so cool to see, like, it's literally cartoons coming to life. Like, seeing her with all the same things, like the armor is to the T the same. Her using the guns, like just absolutely destroying with the 2 blasters. And then her grabbing the Darksaber, which we saw her do at one point, and just wrecking shop. It's just like, it's so freaking cool. And it's done by the same person that voiced it too, who's a bad Mama Jamma.
I love Katie Sackhoff so much.
She's so
she delivers
awesome.
Bo-Katan lines perfectly.
Perfect.
Like it is a crime that she's not utilized in like media more. Like we barely get to see her in other properties.
Great actress.
I love her. I think she is great. She's an incredible action star too. She knows how to do action. I know that she's in a helmet. You can make the argument that it's on her. I don't care. I guarantee you she's in that helmet as much as she can.
Oh, 100%. I would be shocked if she wasn't one of the main people doing all that stuff.
I was talking about this with Dylan earlier. I am so absurdly thrilled that this is when we're seeing her in live action. Like, like 100%. I obviously would have loved to have seen like a live action story with her in between episode 3 and 4, or anytime between the original trilogy or whatever. But I don't think there's more of a perfect time than right now because of what's happening with Mandalore. But I am obsessed seeing her and Din stand next to each other. Like obsessed with seeing the 2 of them stand next to each other.
There's something about seeing Mandalorians just like walking side by side.
Not just that, but these 2 Mandalorians.
No, I know. I'm just saying, and what I was going to say is like, there's something, because you don't, before this show, there was never Mandalorians walking side animated, but like in live action, like you don't, it was just Boba Fett. And now it's like, oh, there's 2. Oh, there's 10. Oh, there's this. And then you put, oh, look at these 2 standing next to each other. And they're literally bad Mama Jamma.
They're literally the future.
It's so freaking cool seeing the Mandalorians like this. And
it's the purpose too. Like what's going on around them, right? Like with the culture and trying to essentially bring their people back and just everything that's happened. Like 2 ends of the spectrum, right? Like they talked about in the episode, which I loved that sequence as they're walking to the waters where Bo is essentially like revealing herself, talking about Mandalore, talking about her past, which we never got in Clone Wars or Rebels, diving deeper in the character of Bo-Katan than we ever have before, talking about her father, a princess, etc. But we're seeing the high royalty of Bo-Katan and then the foundling who was raised in a cult come together. And even though, like, I mean, at the beginning of the episode, Bo-Katan,
they have different beliefs. But
well, not just that, but Bo, it felt like Bo wanted to wipe Din off the face of the planet before
she was so
she was fully like gonna go guns a blazing at the dude before she saw Grogu pop up out of the N1. But 2 ends of the spectrum slowly coming together, and like this is jumping way too far ahead. But
this might be the most all over the place we've ever.
It's Mandalorian, and I love it so much. Like this is how we talk about it. The 2 of them are going to be the key to unlocking everything. Like it's going to be them too, and that's I just love it. I just love it so much.
It's so funny because I saw a TikTok today on my break, and it was Katie Sackhoff getting interviewed, and they were like, "What was your favorite episode that you did?" I don't remember which one she said, so I'm just going to say a random number. She was like, oh, episode 6. Well, but that thing happens in 8. But we did have a lot of fun doing 2.
She's going to be in every episode, and I'm so happy.
I was like, wait, she knows. That just means she's in that one. And then that one. she's literally not even a co-star. She's like a second lead almost at this point.
100%. I think she's a co-lead. 100%.
I think she is too. And God love her because she is just so awesome. Like
seeing her in action fight those fight the creatures where it was like, we'll get to the robot fight, which was great with the Darksaber and everything. But when she spotted essentially the nest, I love when she just kind of like shoved Grogu to the side.
Yeah.
Just goes and he just zooms off and she just goes guns a-blazing. Seeing her use all of her abilities and her tech and everything was just, again, so happy.
It's so happy. And it's giving back to the character that was created in the animated, because she is a bad Mama Jamma. I hate not being.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say Mama
because
Jamma.
I can't say the one that I want to anymore. And I can't think of anything else to go with bad.
Mother trucker.
Okay, sure. I mean, she kicked major butt when she was in the animated show. And it's translating exactly like it did in live action, where she's just destroying people. She's one of the most skilled people we see, it just fighting, and she's destroying people. Like it's just so perfect. It's so cool. I love it. I mean, this was like 20% Mandalorian episode, 80% Bo-Katan episode. Like it was majority her.
I mean, I would probably say like half. It's like 50-50.
There's
one part. The one there, it's split down the middle. Once Din says go find Bo, then it becomes a Bo-Katan episode.
That's fair.
Yeah, because we saw Din fight those monsters as well, and he obviously was using the Darksaber. And then, I mean, before we get to the big moment, which my heart's racing, Mythosaur.
Dude, we haven't even talked at all about Grogu.
That's where I was going. I
was going to say, or the thing that I screamed thinking was General Grievous.
It's not.
No, I know that.
I knew Star Wars people and Star Wars fans like Brian were going to be like, General Grievous. Oh my God.
Well, I didn't think at first, like I went, oh my God, General Grievous. And then I went, oh no, that's not General Grievous. And then I went, oh, is it his species? Another person from his species? But it wasn't. So like, I just kind of, we've never seen his species in live action.
No, never.
So that's why I immediately was like, oh, is this going to be like another
General Grievous a species though, or he's a robot?
No, he's a species that said he wanted to be the best he could be. And by doing that, he just started replacing. He's basically like Nebula.
Well, maybe it's the same species, but he just upgraded himself.
No, anyway, they look like Tusken Raiders, kind of like that whole like desert vibe. Anyways, completely off on a.
Wait, are you talking about? You're talking about the robot, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying Grievous's species, what he looked like.
Looks like.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so before we get to the robot fight and everything that has to do with that creature and the Mythosaur, I want to just simply ask Brian, what's your favorite Grogu moment from this episode?
I love anytime he talks.
Well, he's not talking because everyone freaked out that he said his first word. He didn't say his first word. He didn't talk today. He mumbles.
They're saying he said a word
on Tatooine. What? People think that he may have talked because
saying what?
I don't know, but she responds and goes, "Did he just talk? Did he just say his first word?"
Oh, I thought he just went, and she just.
No, people think he might have said his actually first word, but he didn't. He didn't.
No, I didn't catch that.
How about the force flip?
When he got out of the N1?
Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite thing probably was like, I don't even know. Like,
one too. Andy says Grogu sneaking is perfection.
Okay, anytime he's like
camouflage Grogu. Grogu. Yeah.
And then also when he popped up out of the N1 to Bo-Katan, she's like, oh, he's just like, So he's hilarious. It's funny because this is the first time that I watched this episode and went, is he the Mandalorian? Technically, like I was like, there was a second in me where I was just like, I know, did like, just kind of like, I don't know. There was a part in my that I was watching it. I forget what it was, but where I was just like, I know Din is like, he's in his body is in the name and whatnot, but it was just kind of like, Grogu is very Mandalorian, like, and so like it's like he does certain things that make me think like almost by the end of it, he's gonna be the Mandalorian.
I mean, I think they both are because he's a foundling.
I know, but I don't know. My brain just kind of went to this thing where it was like, he's gonna be the name the Mandalorian at the very end of it or something. I don't know. I forget what triggered it in my mind where I was just like, oh, interesting.
We had this conversation on Apocalypse last
Jane.
night, and I got into a little bit of a tassel with Mr. Bartley.
Oh God.
We were talking about Star Wars, and Jacob is fully locked in on this idea that at some point Grogu is going to fight alongside Rey as Jedi. And I kept I kept trying to tell him, I'm like, Jacob, Grogu's not going to be a Jedi. He's going to be a Mandalorian. Like, what do you think this show is? It's not about the Jedi. It's about the Mandalorian. He made his decision when he left Luke. Like, that's not what's going to happen. Like, he may fight alongside Rey as a Mandalorian, but he ain't going to fight us all alongside him as a Jedi. And so that was happening on Apocalypse Now last night when you were gone, Brian. Check it out. It's Tuesday, 7 o'clock Pacific.
I'm gone for one day.
Yeah,
and
I was trying to like fight this idea of like, no, like that's not gonna happen. They're probably never going to meet anyway.
No, I would literally been like, little special boy.
But no, like if you look, I think the Mandalorian, the title, I do think it's plural. I think that the title refers to plural. It can refer to anybody. It can refer to Bo-Katan at one time, Grogu, even the Armorer and Paz Vizsla, etc. It can refer to any of them. It's about the Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian is very much a plural word. Jesus.
You gotta love the L's.
Yeah. And so I definitely think that and by the way, he also said if that happened, that movie would make $2 billion, is what he said. I'd go back and watch it, Brian. I'm telling you, man. I lost my mind for like 10 minutes. I was losing it.
I was gone for an hour. Literally,
I'm telling you, dude.
The episode was an hour.
It was happening, and I was losing it. Anyway. Gordon does have a question that kind of relates to this, but I'll get to that question.
Are you sure Gio wasn't the one saying these things? Because that sounds like some Gio stuff.
No, Gio
he loves throwing up.
Gio was not saying these things. I promise. Gio was not saying these things. So yeah, look, I do think that by the end of it, whether he's like the de facto Mandalorian, the leader, Mandalore, whatever, I tend to think that Din is headed towards that path. But I think Grogu will very much be a Mandalorian, a staple in the culture. Kind of like putting in a new age of Mandalorians, because again, I go back to this all the time. I think that the ways of what Bo has done in the past, the way that Mandalorians have tried to kind of like go about their ways in the past, you can't do that again. Like, it's the same conversation we have with the Jedi, right? Like, you can't do the same thing over and over again. So they have to find a new way of doing things. And I think whatever they're going to come up with is going to be that new way of the Mandalorian. And it's going to heavily include Grogu, Bo, Din, and whoever else fights alongside them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get...
It's okay. I'm going to bring up Gordon's comment here.
Jacob's
wasn't Tar Vizsla both Jedi and Mandalorian? He was the first and only Mandalorian Jedi, if I'm not mistaken. He created the Darksaber. And he became the first Mandalorian Jedi. But that doesn't mean Grogu will be, because right now in the galaxy, let's not forget, there are no real Jedi. Like, Luke is the only person out there. like a school comes about at some point, but we don't know exactly when. But I think people need to get the whole Grogu and Jedi thing out of their head because he turned down that path with Luke. He turned it down. That's over and done with.
If we had to like de facto put like he's a Mandalorian, he's a Jedi, Mandalorian's gonna win every single time. Mm-hmm. Like he's
following Papa.
Yeah, exactly.
Daddy Din. That's his path. Daddy Din is his path. All right, Jane's got a question for us. Do y'all think that Bo-Katan's father was a member of Death Watch, being that Bo implies that Satine was an embarrassment to their father? I definitely think it's possible because we don't know the exact answer as to why Bo joined Death Watch. That question has never been answered. When we first meet her, she's part of it. She's part of Death Watch. She's heavily involved in it, etc. So what is the reason she joins it? And it seems like out of the two of the girls, Satine and Bo, that Bo had the much better relationship with her father, just from the few lines of this episode. And so it would definitely make sense that he influenced her to join Death Watch.
I mean, yeah. Satine was always, at least for me, felt almost kind of like the outsider, even though she was kind of like politically, I guess, more powerful, you want to say.
She was a ruler.
Yeah. So I mean, like, compared to what Bo started out with and all that, I mean, I could see that because Satine was very much there, complete opposites. Like,
I would love to see a flashback.
Dude, I thought maybe there today, the amount of times I went, oh, here comes flashback, and then nothing happened. I thought we were going to get a flash. If I truly was to nail down a flashback, I thought it was going to be like, Mandalore was great one time. Me and my sister did it, and just like flashback to just like, maybe just like a throne room or something, just like a place, and them just standing next to each other.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, can you imagine?
I think there's a big chance that whenever we kind of, because I definitely think we're gonna dive much more into Bo-Katan's past.
Good.
I think that maybe she opens up to Din and tells like a little bit of a backstory or story. Do you remember in the original Thor when we saw young Thor and Loki? I could see us seeing a scene with a young Satine and Bo.
That'd be kind of cool.
With their father. Cool. I think their father, Satine, Bo, I think we could see a scene like that, talking about her father again, or possibly her relationship with her sister. I don't know if I see a scene with an older Satine, because for most of the time that we saw Satine in the Clone Wars, Bo was with Death Watch. So, and then things kind of shifted a little bit towards the end, and obviously in Rebels it was different, but by that time Satine had passed. So I definitely think we're going to get some kind of flashback. I just don't know where it fits or when it's going to take place, but I would love to see more of the Kryze family, because they are high royalty. They're very high royalty, and they obviously have a large part in all of Mandalorian history. So
100%. I mean, I'm trying to think. My friends that watch this that are not at the level of like, it's pretty much one of the ones that's like, I don't watch the animated, but I'll watch anything live action. I think they still kind of don't understand how Bo? Like important she is.
I think they're going to learn. I think they're definitely going to do that.
That's what I think will be done. Is there's got to be something that like pushes over the edge of like
an emotional attachment.
Like this is how important she was, like type situation, because like I think they just kind of see. I mean, to be fair, she has, for a casual fan, like she's talked about how she's important, how like she was important and whatnot, but like she hasn't shown, like there hasn't been anything shown to emphasize like, yeah, dude, like,
yeah, the only stuff is Clone Wars and Rebels right now. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. You're right. So I think we're going to see a flashback, and I think it'll be something that we haven't seen before in Clone Wars or Rebels, something new for everybody, which I think will be very, very cool. Look, we're gonna talk a lot more about Bo going forward. She's obviously heavily involved. We'll talk a lot more about Grogu, but we have two things left to talk about. Let's start with the robot fight. The creature that captured Din was taking his blood essentially.
I think he wanted all of his fluids.
Yeah, living underground Mandalore in the capital city. I don't know if it was the capital city, but I know it was one. I forget the name of the city. I'm all over the place today, guys. I apologize. But look, this thing is interesting. It's been there for a very long time. It clearly has killed a lot of Mandalorians.
It's literally just a brain and an eye.
Yeah. So I know that you wanted to talk about specifically, Brian, but what did you think about everything with the robot?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's cool seeing like some other weird, crazy enemy that you've never seen or heard of that basically looks like he was pulled out of a video game.
Thank you, Mandy. Sunduri. That's what it was. Sunduri.
Like
and Gordon, thank you.
I literally kind of went like, what video game is that from? Oh, hi, Ray. But yeah, that thing was wild. And I'm sorry. I know people, it's General Grievous. It looked it had.
You're not the only person I've seen say that, so it's okay.
I know. But I'm in no way am I saying that's him. Oh, it's resurrected General Grievous. No. But as far as the like body and how it moved and stuff, it was very General Grievous-esque.
Yeah.
Like it gave off that vibe enough where I think most people, when they first saw it, went, wait, like even just for a millisecond, like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I can't think of off the top of my head, like, I mean, what the heck was that? Was it a thing that used to be a creature that has been slowly like dying and turned into that thing? Because like, I mean, I would assume it had to at some point, because if it only had an eye and a brain, how would it have ever built things? Or I don't know. It was just, I liked like, what the hell is that? Like not really knowing like anything about it. But yeah, I mean, it whooped Din pretty quickly.
Yeah, he was just, I mean, well, it didn't whoop him, it captured him. And
well,
you're supposed to know, right? He pulls the helmet out of the sand and it's just sitting there dormant for I don't know how long, waiting for something to come along, right? Yeah, I thought it was a great use of just being creative. Again, right? Just kind of throwing something out there, and we may never know what it is, and I think that's totally fine.
Oh yeah, I don't care. Like that's not.
Yeah, like it's just it's some type of being that is, weighing lace to everything that kind of comes in its path, and I think any creature that comes in its path, it's going to weigh lace to, whether it's Mandalorian or not. It was very creative, very interesting that Bo cut its head off and then it crawled away, got in the big robot. And also a great obstacle, right? To kind of just throw in there for kind of everything that's happening. Very powerful being, obviously took Din down. Bo definitely had to fight and use her abilities to take it down. Just again, being creative, and it's Star Wars. You can do literally anything you want in Star Wars. And I think that they're doing it great with the Mandalorian. And just like it goes back to Gorian. Oh my God, what's his name? Gorian what, Brian? The pirate.
Who? What? The
King Gorian Shard. King Gorian Shard.
I was like, who are you talking about?
King Gorian Shard, right? Like you have a pirate leader. Oh yeah, let's make him a seaweed. Okay, we need an obstacle for episode 2. Yeah, let's make this super weird brainy robot thing that has another robot he gets inside. Like, why not? It's freaking Star Wars. Like you can literally do what you want.
You can't tell me that thing didn't look like it was pulled out of a Star Wars video game, like 100%. A boss. That 100%. It literally, to the point where there was time, like for a minute, I was like, "Is that a video game boss from like an old game?" Like I sat there after the episode and was like thinking about it. I was like, "Why does that seem so familiar, but like so different at the same time? Like, was that an old Star Wars boss that they're like?" oh, let's make it this. Like, I mean, they could easily do that. So it was cool. I liked it. And it gave Bo-Katan a challenge too. It wasn't like her just whooping ass. Like it definitely was more of a challenge than the little abominable snowman.
Those were great little bad guys.
Oh, they were cool. But I mean, she went to town.
Yeah, but you would expect that. And it also set up
yeah.
like, it also showed us that just how better she is than Din.
Mhm.
Like she's just stronger. I think she's more tactical. As much as I love Din, he doesn't compare to Bo-Katan in my opinion.
No,
And I think
not
that was
even
the whole
close.
idea of it, right? You see them both fight multiple versions of those monsters, and she easily comes out on top where Din struggled. So,
I mean, I think that this episode also was used to make the point of like, look, Din is still struggling using this thing. I mean, they literally did it right before. And then all of a sudden she comes along and she just goes to freaking town with it. Like it was light as a feather. So it's kind of like, oh, like I hope people don't like forget like how that's the big deal. Like it's like, look at this chick. She's the one that wanted it, and she just went to town on these things.
100%.
5 seconds ago, Din did it and barely survived. So yeah, but we need to talk about the thing that I
was getting there. I was going to say,
I was going to say because
inevitable.
I know I was going to say we need to talk about it because I didn't even lose my mind for me. I lost my mind thinking of you seeing it.
Yeah,
for the first.
So let me paint a picture. So it was 5:30 in the morning. Put the show on, and the show was about 40 minutes long. So I ended around 6:05, 6:10, and I'm just cruising along. I'm loving this episode. I got Darksaber. I'm losing it. Bo-Katan shows up, and then it kind of like clicks to me that they're going to the water, right? And I think back to the preview before the episode, how they're talking about the mythosaur, and I'm like, there's no way right now. Like there is no way that they're about to do this. So my mind went, okay, well maybe they find a skull, or maybe they find some bones, right? Like of an old one. I was like, I don't want to get my hopes up, but maybe they find something that they come across, or didn't find something buried along, on the ocean floor, the water floor, whatever. But let me tell you, my God, when that thing showed up, right? We see Din get pulled out of water, and my heart starts racing. I'm like, okay, are there more monsters? Did the mythosaur just capture him? Like, what is going on? We get the picture of the mythosaur. We see this head. First of all, we see the bone, and then we see the head slowly move. I was lying in bed. I crap you not. The dogs were laying with me. I got up and sprinted around my room yelling, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I was losing it as the mythosaur was showing on screen. And it was a dark scene. Obviously, you didn't get to see the full picture, but just seeing and just knowing that a mythosaur is being shown in live action is unreal. Like never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought that one, we'd be getting a show about the Mandalorian and the culture of the Mandalorians and just everything about it. But two, that we would see a creature like the mythosaur on screen. Like we haven't even seen a mythosaur in animation. Like,
nothing.
There is nothing about the mythosaur anywhere in canon Star Wars. Like it's just talked about. That's it. Just talked about.
You literally type in mythosaur on Google and it's almost all entirely fan art.
It's I could talk about it forever. I could talk about it forever. But
my mind went immediately to you and to Sean.
I texted Sean at 6 a.m. I was like, Sean.
Yeah, I immediately went, no. And then I thought of you guys and I was like, no. Like, we actually saw that, and then you see Bo-Katan look at it, and she's like,
"Oh yeah, she's shocked." I mean, because it shouldn't be down there. It's because
No.
it should not be down there.
Mm-mm.
And maybe it was there the entire time, and someone knew about it, and it's like the Loch Ness monster. It's like a myth, obviously, right? We don't know if it's alive or if it
a
ever actually
mythosaur.
existed. Yeah, like we don't know, but either way, one of them is alive. At least one of them. It's down there, and you better bet your booty that our boy Din's riding that mother effer. He's riding that mother effer for sure.
Dude.
And you know why? And everyone talks about this, and I'm not taking credit for it because I heard Alex and Molly talk about it on their reaction. You have to up Boba riding the Rancor somehow. How do you do that?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
You have Din riding a mythosaur.
Oh my god.
That's how you up it. That's how you up the ante and make Din be like, oh yeah, this dude's it. This is the dude.
We just went from Star Wars to House of the Dragon by throwing in a mythosaur.
Dude, Star Wars said, okay, House of the Dragon. You got dragons? Come at it. Come at us. You come find out what this mythosaur is.
You think you got cute little dragons? Well, check out this guy.
Oh my god, I cannot wait to see this full thing fleshed out, like in the light, everything. It's going to be so effing exciting. It also makes sense because so we know that the fight, when it comes down to it, is going to be Din, Bo, whoever else up against the Armorer and the Children of the Watch, right?
Probably, yeah.
There's more of them than there is Din and Bo and everybody. There just is. But how do you sway sides? You give them a mythosaur. You give them something that fights alongside them. And obviously, like the stories and all that stuff is, I don't know the exact stories because, again, we don't really know anything about a mythosaur. But to me, it's like almost like a dragon where there's one rider. It's going to listen to one. The rider of the mythosaur is going to be Mandalore. That person is going to be Din. And whether or not the Armorer and the Children of Watch concede to Din, I don't know, but I have a feeling it's going to end very, very poorly for them. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I didn't even think. I don't know if it ever crossed my mind about seeing a mythosaur like live. It was kind of one of those things that just like you always associate the skull when you think of a mythosaur. Like I don't know. It's just one of those ones that just always like you kind of already accepted those are gone. There's always a skull. That's like the thing. So like thinking about the fact that, oh, it is now alive and we just saw it is like, holy crap. Like that actually happened.
Yeah. And it's also a nice little runaround kind of circling back to the very, very beginning. Remember in the first episode when Queel was trying to teach Din to ride the blurgs and Andy brought it up, he kind of reminded me, Queel basically said, aren't you Mandalorian? Didn't you guys ride mythosaurs at one point? Like,
dang.
Like it's a nice little runaround. Andy says it will also be a great connecting back to episode 1 with Din learning to ride the blurgs. And Queel basically said, I thought you guys rode mythosaurs. Right? So he went from learning to ride blurgs to now he's gonna have to learn how to ride a mythosaur.
Dude, can you imagine if like it's not Death Watch. I'm all over the place.
Well, I mean, it kind of is. They're Children of the Watch, so it's a new
formation
of Death Watch, essentially.
Fair. But can you imagine if like eventually it's like it's them and then Mandalorian's crew, but they're coming in on like ships and stuff in a giant group, and then he comes in with all of his people on the mythosaur and drops them off that way. Like, dude,
it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire.
It's so funny. Did you ever like be honest, like think like, oh, a mythosaur is going to show up for sure in this?
No,
yeah, neither did I. I never once like, and it's funny to think about after being like,
The signs were there.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, how did we not even see that coming or think of it? And it's one of those things in Star Wars that you just always, yeah, they're all dead. It's the skull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh crap. Like this is gonna be wild when that thing comes out of the water.
100%. So excited. So excited. Real quick.
My butt was just thinking it was the trash compactor monster, like that type of thing, just pulled him down, and then it's like, oh no, it's a freaking
not even close. Not even close. All right, Gordon has a comment / question here. Didn't Bo-Katan say if Din wanted others to follow him, all he needed to do was wave around the Darksaber? So, yes, you are correct, Gordon. But remember, Bo-Katan is kind of following the old ways. Those old ways are old. They're out of date. They didn't work previously. And she also said in episode 1 that her people who followed her are giving up on that quest. They're off doing other things. The Darksaber may not work like it used to. And honestly, I don't think it should. Because again, it hasn't worked in the past. It has not worked. That process, that idea, it has not worked. Something new has to happen. And I think a Mandalorian riding a giant monster is that answer.
If you are saying you're a Mandalorian and a giant freaking mythosaur comes flying towards you, and you're not immediately like, yeah, he's in charge. Like, what are you doing? Like, I mean, it's literally
with like, a force sensitive little buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm with him. He's got the giant dragon. Like, what do you have? A hammer? Sorry, I'm going with the giant dragon.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely has a long way to get there, but we're gonna see it. We're 100% gonna see it, and it's gonna be an epic moment. That's like an all-time Star Wars moment right there.
I wouldn't be surprised if you never see this thing again until the final episode, and there's second to final episode, and just all of a sudden, like, they're fighting, and the thing just comes out of nowhere and just starts going to town.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I don't even need to see it all the time. Just knowing it's there, and if you give it to me one other time, fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting the way the episode left off. We obviously left off on a very quick cliffhanger of them coming out of the water and a zoom in on Bo-Katan's face of like, okay, what the hell just happened? So we're obviously going to be talking about it next episode. Whether they see it, it's a larger question, but we'll have to wait until next week. Yeah, I mean, we covered everything that we possibly could. We talked about it all. We went off on a major tangent. That's all
we did. This.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
And then right at the end went.
I love it.
I love it too.
And yeah, Andy says, yeah, it'll be bigger to transport around than the N1.
No,
100%.
It would be a bugger.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, sorry.
He's
what I
picture Australian.
What I picture is
they're weirdos.
What I picture is Din on the Mythosaur with R5 and Grogu and the N1 flying right next to them. That's what I picture.
Him just that like astromech. Wow.
Yeah,
noise.
That's exactly what I picture. It's gonna be great.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, look, that is going to cover chapter 18, episode 2 of season 3, The Mines of Mandalore. Bugger is a phrase in the UK, not in the US, Andy.
Yeah, all of you English ruled territories say it, not us.
Yeah, it's not us. We don't bugger's not a thing here in the US. But it's a great word. It's 100% a great word. I agree.
We kicked those guys out a couple hundred years ago.
But yeah, look, every Wednesday, 6:00 Pacific, we'll be here talking The Mandalorian. We love having you guys interact with us, joining us. We appreciate it. Again, if you can't watch on video, this and everything else on Apocalypse goes straight to audio. It's uploaded the next morning. So this episode will be released on Thursday morning.
Although you're missing out on Jake's cool new graphics that he put around the top and the intro.
Pretty dope, right?
I didn't notice.
Yeah, pretty dope. Thank you. As far as the Fandalorian Club goes, also make sure you're checking out Thursday mornings. Our Bad Batch reviews are dropped. Only a couple episodes left, guys. Couple episodes left of that show for this season. We're getting down the wire, and it's getting really, really good. So make sure you're tuning in for that. And Brian, where can everyone find you online? Even though it's at the bottom of the screen, let the people know.
It's on the bottom of the screen, but be it Valentino on Twitter and Instagram. Ah, there's the puppies. Oh, you only put one N in your name.
No, I didn't.
I know. Go ahead.
Goodness.
Yours.
Hello, doggos. We appreciate you guys. I know you guys know my sign off.
I want you the next time we sign off, to do something different that doesn't sound like the normal, and see if they catch it.
Okay.
Like, it's up to you to wrap up I don't know, something different phrased that.
All right, everybody. That's gonna wrap up the Fandalorian Club today.
He's Qui-Gon Jake. You can find him 2 N's because someone took it before him.
Exactly.
He's being
TikTok, Twitter,
mauled.
Instagram. Follow us everywhere. We appreciate you guys for enjoying the chaos. We hope you guys stay safe out there, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.